Okay, let's unpack this. We are launching a deep dive into the 2012 Oikos University shooting in Oakland, California.
Hmm.
This event, I mean, it stands as the deadliest mass killing in the city's history. And while the horror of that day is just undeniable, the complexity of this case, it really lies almost entirely in what came after.
Yeah, exactly. The years of legal paralysis, you could call it, and this deep conflict between, criminal accountability and severe mental illness.
That's it.
Our sources, we've got articles detailing the timeline, the shooter's background, court records. They show us this clear path of destruction. Absolutely. But a really murky legal path followed.
So our mission here is,
Well, it's to distill how the perpetrator's personal grudges, this perceived wrong over tuition, and the really overriding factor of long undiagnosed paranoid schizophrenia intersected with the U.S. criminal justice system. It's a study in paradox, really.
a paradox. Okay, well, to understand that paradox, I think we have to start with the day itself, the ordinary day that became anything but Monday, April 2, 2012.
Right. The location was Oikos University. It's a small Korean Christian college located in East Oakland, near the Airport Business Park.
Okay.
And the time was about 10:30 in the morning, Pacific Daylight Time. Classes were happening. Campus was, calm, until one El Go, who was a former nursing student there, arrived.
And he didn't just arrive casually, did he? The sources, they indicate he was heavily prepared.
Oh, absolutely. Carrying a .45 caliber semi-automatic handgun and 4 fully loaded 10-round magazines, so 40 rounds total.
Wow.
And reports say he fired, quote, most of those 40 bullets during the attack.
Most of them. And the absolute core of the horror, it seems, happened inside a nursing classroom.
That's right. Goes walked in, interrupted the class, and issued this command. I mean, it just immediately set the tone for the tragedy. He ordered the classmates to line up against the wall.
Just ordered them.
Yeah, reportedly saying, get in line, I'm going to kill you all. And then he opened fire.
That is just chilling. It demonstrates such a clear intent to inflict maximum pain, maximum terror. The suddenness, the brutality, it's shocking.
It is, and the toll was devastating. In total, the rampage resulted in 7 fatalities, 6 students and 1 receptionist, and 3 other people were injured.
7 dead, 3 injured.
And the sheer scale of that loss, especially, for such a small, tight-knit community like Oikos, it's hard to grasp. And as you noted, 6 of the 7 people killed were women.
6 out of 7.
Students and staff their lives violently ended by this one man's rage.
And we really need to acknowledge them by name.
Yep.
The victims killed that day were Churing Rinzing Bhutia, Doris Chibuko, Sodam Chodan, Grayson Nuhai Kim, Kathleen Ping, Judith Seymour, and Lydia Sim.
7 lives, gone in minutes.
It's difficult to process that immediate aftermath. How did it even end?
Well, after the initial attack in the classroom, Go apparently continued firing as he fled the campus. He drove away in a car that belonged to one of the victims.
So he escaped initially.
He did, but his escape, it was brief. Just hours later, he drove about 5 miles away to Alameda, to a Safeway supermarket there.
Okay.
And he surrendered to the authorities, just gave himself up without incident.
So the facts of the crime, who did it, what happened, that was clear almost immediately.
Instantly clear, yes.
But the why? The motive?
Yeah.
That was immediately complicated. And that brings us, I think, to the troubled man at the center of this.
Right. The perpetrator was one El Go. He was 43 years old at the time of the shooting, Korean-American, born Sunam-ko, and, as we said, a former nursing student at Oikos.
I noticed a peculiar detail in the sources about his identity, something that maybe hints at an early struggle with self-perception. He legally changed his name.
He did, yeah, to one El Go back in February 2002.
Because?
Because he reportedly felt his birth name, Sunam-ko, sounded like a girl's name.
Does that sort of minor detail resonate at all with what we later find out about his psychological state? Or is that stretching it?
Well, it's not definitive, of course, but sometimes these things can be indicators. A legal name change to maybe distance oneself from a perceived weakness, especially when you couple it with what else was going on in his life.
Which was?
Well, severe financial distress, for one. He was living in Oakland, he'd accumulated debt, had some minor traffic citations, just adding to the pressure.
And his personal losses in just the year before the shooting were absolutely devastating.
Huge losses. His older brother, Suwon Ko, he was a U.S. Army non-commissioned officer, was killed in a car accident in Virginia in March 2011.
Okay, so that's one major blow.
And then later that same year, his mother, Okjol Kim, she returned to Seoul, South Korea, and she died there.
Wow. Brother and mother Gone within months of each other.
Exactly. That combination of tragedy is just immense. And it really sets the stage for the specific grudges he seemed to be nursing against the university.
So what were the stated motives initially?
Initially, the police claimed Go was angry because he'd been expelled or maybe asked to leave the university, reportedly due to disciplinary problems.
Okay, expulsion anger. That's a common enough trigger, unfortunately. But it seems like his anger got really specific, fixated on money.
It really did. The sources really stressed this. The primary source of his rage seemed directed at one specific administrator, a woman named Ellen Sreffelin,
Why her?
because she had apparently denied his request for a prorated tuition fee reversal. He'd paid about $6,000, and he wanted some of it back after leaving the program. She said no.
So that $6,000 became the fixation.
It seems like it. That financial denial, it became the fuel, apparently, for the planned attack. And what's really
Where?
crucial here is that Go reportedly went to Oikos looking for this administrator, specifically her.
But she wasn't there that day.
Exactly. He learned she wasn't on campus, and that's when his focus just snapped. He opened fire on random people instead, the students and the receptionist in that classroom.
So the target shifted. He also claimed something about the students, didn't he?
Yes, he also claimed that students had previously mistreated him and disrespected him while he was a student there, so layers of perceived slights.
Okay, but here's where we hit that major contradiction you mentioned earlier. The one that really points towards his mental state, perhaps.
Right, because while police initially cited expulsion as a motive,
School officials later came out and stated quite clearly that Go had not actually been expelled.
exactly, and that discrepancy is, I think, intellectually vital to understanding this. It suggests Go wasn't operating based on clear reality.
But on his own perception, his own, maybe, delusion.
Precisely. Whether he was actually expelled or not becomes almost less important than the fact that he believed he had been wronged, disrespected, cheated out of his money. That $6,000 refund denial, it became the anchor for this paranoid belief system he seemed to be developing.
Justifying the extreme violence in his mind, even when the victims became random.
Yes. So you have this perceived financial slight, compounded by deep personal loss, all channeled through, it seems, a paranoid lens. And the result was the loss of 7 innocent lives.
It's just an overwhelming collision of mental health issues and tragic circumstance.
So, following his surrender, the legal process started quickly. Go was charged with 7 counts of murder, 3 counts of attempted murder.
And his initial plea.
He initially pled not guilty, but almost immediately, the legal trajectory just stalled, ground to a halt because of his mental state.
He was hospitalized right away, wasn't he? All right, he did apologize for the shooting, but also confessed he couldn't remember large parts of that day.
That's right. And then there was that strange detail you mentioned. He started refusing to eat, lost about 20 pounds. Authorities were actually considering forced feeding.
That refusal to eat.
Huh.
It does seem like an early indicator that maybe he was detached from reality, or trying to assert some kind of control in a delusional way.
It certainly signaled a major problem with his comprehension, his connection to what was happening, and his public defender quickly picked up on this, arguing that Gar was mentally incompetent to stand trial.
So the core legal question shifted. It wasn't about if he committed the crime that was obvious, he surrendered.
No, not at all.
It was about, could he understand the charges against him? Could he actually assist in his own defense?
Exactly. The standard for competency. And this pushed the entire case into the competency evaluation phase.
Which involves psychiatrists.
Yes, 2 separate court-appointed psychiatrists examined him, and both of them independently came to the same pretty definitive conclusion,
Which was?
that Go had suffered from severe paranoid schizophrenia, and not just recently. They believed he'd had it for up to a decade and a half, maybe longer.
15 years. Undiagnosed.
Apparently so. And this illness, they concluded, fundamentally impaired his ability to rationally understand the court proceedings or cooperate with his lawyer.
So, based on those findings,
Yeah.
what happened in court?
Well, in January 2013, so less than a year after the shooting, but still months of evaluation, a judge ruled Go unfit for trial,
Unfit for trial.
which meant the criminal case was suspended indefinitely. He was ordered confined to a state mental institution, Napa State Hospital, I believe, for treatment.
And the plan was to try and restore his competency.
That's the legal requirement, treatment with the goal of restoration. Competency reviews were mandated quite frequently every 90 days.
Every 90 days. Wow. That ruling It really launched this legal limbo that went on for years, didn't it?
It did. And for the listener, it's important to clarify what that means in practical terms. Like you said, it wasn't an acquittal, not guilty. It was an indefinite hold.
Meaning the victims' families just had to wait, knowing that every 3 months there'd be another review, but no guarantee of justice or even a trial ever moving forward.
It's a resource-intensive process, emotionally draining for everyone involved, a kind of legal purgatory.
Yeah, that seems like the right word. Purgatory.
And that is precisely the consequence you see when the justice system encounters severe, profound mental illness. The system mandates due process, right?
Yeah.
Even for the most violent offenders.
Which means justice can't proceed if the defendant literally cannot legally comprehend the charges or assist counsel.
Exactly. And this situation, the cycle of reviews and confinement, it continued until late 2015, almost 3 years later. And that's when we encounter one of the most, frankly, unusual elements of this whole case.
You mean the moment when Go, still institutionalized, still deemed incompetent, expressed a desire for the death penalty?
That's the one. It's a profound paradox, isn't it? How can someone who is legally unfit to even understand the trial process suddenly possess the capacity to request the ultimate punishment?
What did his lawyers make of that?
Well, according to the sources, his attorneys themselves were unsure. Was this a moment of genuine clarity, real guilt breaking through, or was it just another manifestation of his underlying delusions?
Like a new theme. Martyrdom or self-punishment, maybe?
Could be. The system couldn't really take that request seriously given the standing schizophrenia diagnosis and incompetency ruling, but it did show that his mental state was perhaps fluctuating, or at least complex, and it maybe signaled that the indefinite commitment couldn't last forever. Something had to give eventually.
Right. The case had to find some kind of resolution, and it finally did years later, in May 2017.
Yes, May 2017, 5 years after the shooting. A major breakthrough. Go pleaded no contest to the charges.
No contest, nolo contendere.
Right. And that shift from being ruled unfit for trial for years to suddenly being able to enter a plea, even a no contest plea, is significant.
What does it imply? That he was finally stabilized through medication and treatment.
It could imply successful stabilization to a degree where he could understand the plea bargain. Or, perhaps more likely, given the severity and duration of his illness, it might have been a kind of legal calculation, a way to reach finality.
How so?
Well, pleading no contest allows the court to find the defendant guilty and proceed directly to sentencing, but without the defendant explicitly admitting guilt. It avoids a trial, which might still have been impossible if his competency was borderline.
So it's a mechanism for closure.
Often, yes. And the sentencing that followed was definitive. In July 2017, Go was sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences, plus an additional 271 years in prison.
All without the possibility of parole.
Correct. So the legal odyssey, it was finally over. The sentence absolutely acknowledged the scale of the destruction he caused.
But that wasn't the final chapter for Go himself.
No. That closure for the legal case was followed by a final point in his personal timeline. One L. Go died on March 20th, 2019. He was 50 years old. Died while in custody at Folsom State Prison.
And the cause of death.
It was investigated by the coroner, as is standard procedure, but the specific cause was not publicly released at the time of our sources. #outro.
So we've traced this incredibly tragic story from the horror of the shooting itself, which seemed rooted in these specific personal grievances, like that $6,000 refund denial.
Right, that specific fixation.
All the way through years of legal standstill. And the absolute overriding factor that defined this entire legal process was clearly the long undiagnosed paranoid schizophrenia.
Yeah, and the relevance here, I think, the takeaway for you listening is the window this case provides into the limits of justice when severe mental illness is involved.
How so?
Well, the severity of Gau's condition essentially superseded the known facts of the crime, the whodunit, for half a decade. It created years of intense difficulty, frustration, and pain for the victims' families, and frankly, for the legal system itself, grappling with how to achieve accountability.
It really shows that even in the clearest cases of documented violence like this one, if the individual is legally incomprehensible, the system is just fundamentally blocked.
It grinds to a halt until some form of stability is achieved, or, as happened here, until the lawyers find an acceptable pathway like that no contest plea to reach an end point.
Which leaves us with a final, maybe unsettling thought to consider. If the court ruled repeatedly for years that Gau was incapable of understanding the proceedings, incapable of cooperating with his defense due to paranoid schizophrenia, What does that no contest plea in 2017 truly represent?
That's the question, isn't it? Was it a genuine return to competency, a mind cleared enough to make that decision rationally?
Or was it, perhaps, the legal system accepting a mechanism, a tool, simply to achieve finality? A way to sentence a highly dangerous individual and close the books, even if his fundamental comprehension of the process remained, well, questionable.
What does that whole journey, from being declared unfit for trial for years to suddenly accepting a plea that leads to multiple life sentences, what does that reveal about the systemic pressures, the need to resolve these high-profile, deeply painful cases even when the path isn't perfectly clear?
An important and difficult question to ponder about the intersection of justice, accountability, and profound mental illness. Thank you for taking this deep dive into these really difficult sources with us today.
Subscribe for more.